This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
And welcome to the Week in Review here on the WWE Podcast. It is March 26th, Sunday, 2023. Hope everyone is doing well as I welcome you not just to the show, but to, more importantly, WrestleMania week. It's here. It's finally here. And I think we can say unanimously we are ready. I've kind of reached the point of, all right, let's do this, right? Like the last couple of weeks are sometimes a little bit difficult because you're just kind of ready for all the build, all the hype, all the talk, all the promotions. You're just kind of ready to just say, let's effing do this. And I'm there. Now, it took some storylines all the way till the 11th and a half hour to get to the match, a la Rey and Dominick, although we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show with Rey finally snapping on his son after it seems like a year of abuse, and so that good moment still, but we will get to that, and we'll get to some Raw, some SmackDown, and letting you know that there is a full week of audio. Every single day we're going to have something being cranked out here at the WWE Podcast, as WrestleMania as always is this Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to have a preview show. We'll have a review show for night one, a review show for night two, and then a follow-up probably the following Monday with Anthony DeMarco talking about the wrap-up and all that. And then, of course, Tuesday with the Monday Night After Raw, the Monday Night After WrestleMania. That's going to be insane. I've got a co-host lined up for that show. It's just going to be wall-to-wall wrestling, as it should be this time of year. This is our favorite time of year as wrestling fans. It's the one time of year that as those of us that have wrestling fan friends that pretend to be fans but only do it when it's socially acceptable, you're noticing them probably coming out of the woodwork and peeking their head in the window to see, hey, what's going on now that I can kind of mention wrestling's okay and somewhat socially acceptable to mention on social media? Oh yeah, we're back. But then once WrestleMania is over, we're going to go back in hiding, right? We all have those friends. So that is going to be, that's your week, guys. And if you haven't already downloaded the 2K23 video game, if you are into such things, I'd recommend you do it. I'm not getting paid to say that. I spent the $120 on the Icon Edition like a fool, because I just can't help myself. But I digress. So a couple of things before we get going to the weekend review. Number one, if you want to join us ad-free, no better time to do it right now, guys, on Patreon, patreon.com/WWE podcast, because for a couple things. Number one, you get all the audio ad-free for $1 a month starting. And if you go on the SmackDown tier and higher, I'm running a contest this week where you can submit your picks to me for WrestleMania. And if you get all of your picks for WrestleMania correct, that's including night one and night two, not separate for night one and night two, but if you get every pick for WrestleMania correct, I will give you your monthly subscription donation back to you for free. So you get a month free of audio. So just kind of a little bit of an incentive if you're interested in doing that. And those of you that are in the SmackDown tier and higher, you can submit your guesses as to who's going to win what match, and you can do that. And I need the submissions by Saturday at noon. So a bit of an incentive if you're interested in that. And yeah, so also you can find us ad free on Apple Podcasts or www.podcast.com. Okay, let's do one thing. As I mentioned, one more thing before we get going to the weekend review. I missed a mailbag question. I feel really bad about it. It seems to happen like once a month where I just forget what the hell I'm doing in a mailbag, and I miss one somehow. But nonetheless, let's jump into it. This is from Jamie, patron of the show, and she says that she wanted to pick my brain about something. How do you feel about Solo winning Money in the Bank? If the Bloodline makes it through WrestleMania and survives the Sami situation only to implode from within, it was already on my mind, but Raw this week stirred it up a little bit more with the Roman ordering Solo back to back down. There's also footage of him yelling at him while walking away from the ring. He's been the only quiet member of the bloodline throughout everything, but he could also be the most dangerous. Roman looking over his shoulder, and he never knowing when Solo could cash in, or being cocky and thinking he won't do it only to be proved wrong. I think it would make for good TV. What do you think? Enjoy your day. Well, thank you, Jamie, and that's interesting to me. That's a fun dynamic. I mean, we already have a couple of members of the bloodline eyeing Roman Reigns, and Solo could join that group if he won Money in the Bank. But my concern with this would be that Solo would have to be a babyface for that. And maybe anybody going against Roman would be a babyface, but it's not like the fans are gravitating to Solo. They know that he is Roman's heavy. He doesn't have anything to say. He does a great job being stoic, and I'm not taking anything away from him. But fans don't have an emotional attachment to Solo because we don't know who the hell and what he is. We just know that he's a robotic figure that just does whatever Roman tells him to do, no questions asked, and he's loyal to and only to Roman, right? That's all we know. So they'd have to have a lot of work done between now and then for the fans to be excited about Solo winning, Solo coming up with a personality, and somehow the fans getting on the side of Solo. It's a risky venture. You know, and of course, as you mentioned, the fact is that first and foremost, Roman has to survive WrestleMania with those championships, right? So there's a lot of ifs, but going with your fantasy booking, I don't hate it. It's not impossible. I think it's fun to think about, and I think Solo has a very good career after the bloodline disintegrates, whenever that is. I actually don't believe the bloodline's going to disintegrate for quite some time. And even if from a storyline perspective, we're all kind of like tired of the bloodline, we see the writing on the wall, right? The fact of the matter is that they have a group and a storyline that is rare and is a cash cow for them right now. From a business perspective, from simply money, I would not touch this storyline, even if the fans are kind of groaning about it a little bit. I would take the groaning and laugh all the way to the bank, and which is what they're doing, right? I'm not saying the majority of fans are over this. In fact, I would say the majority of fans are still with this. But the growing base of complaints will continue, as it does with every storyline that runs its course too long. But in this case, they may stretch it out longer than it even should have any business going because they're making so much damn money off of it. So I just don't think, even if your situation comes to fruition, Jamie, I don't think it's going to happen, because it almost would be turning Solo on Roman for no reason, and it's risky to do with Solo in such a great position. Now, again, I'm saying that now. Money in the Bank is what? Like, it's in the middle of summer now? It used to be in May. I think is in the middle of summer? I'd have to check that out. But there's just a lot of groundwork that I have to do from a character perspective for fans to care about Solo. So, good question, though. I've never had anyone ask me that. So, thanks, Jamie. And let's dive into the week, though. Let's get into it. As, you know what? Let's talk about the Rey Mysterio deal. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And we all knew this was coming. And that's okay. See, this is the argument against one of many, really, examples. You can provide people that give you the old, well, it's predictable. Wrestling's predictable. WWE does everything's predictable. Blah, blah, blah. Fine, right? But you could point to this as the most recent example of a very successful storyline in which the fans reacted very loudly to something they knew was coming, but didn't care they knew it was coming and only still wanted it to see it happen. See, this is the exact example of, if it's not the wrong thing to do, it's the right thing to do, and fans still want to see it, even though they know it's coming, it's not the wrong thing because it's predictable. Now, I'm not advocating for everything to be predictable. Of course not. But when you hear fans talk about it, this is an example of, why predictability in and of itself isn't a bad thing. And it was great having Dominick berate his mother and his sister. I actually thought he was going to take it a step further and call them, you two are nothing but low life B word, right? I was actually hoping he'd go there because, that would have taken it completely over the edge. Instead, he called her, Dominick called his mom a deadbeat mom and told them to shut up. So apparently telling his mom to shut up was over the line, but kicking his dad in the nuts for several months and calling, attacking his manhood and costing him matches, and like none of that mattered. But you crossed the line when you told my wife to shut up. I mean, it's fine. Like I'm not taking down the storyline. I see why they did what they did, but when you think about it from just like simplistic standpoint, you're like, that's what did it, whatever. But Rey clocked Dominick good, and Dominick's still selling it as, I can't believe you did that. You're how could you do this to me? It was still classic. I mean, Dominick's still being shocked, even though he asked for it and he's been pushing his dad for months, and still acting like a coward even when he expected or wanted it. It's still great stuff. And so we get Rey and Dominick finally. I'm glad they didn't do the whole finish of this, or the crescendo happen at the Hall of Fame where, then it happened. I'm glad they didn't even go that road. To me, and also, others have said this too, but I will pile on, the Hall of Fame is sacrosanct, and it should be. You can't start muddying the waters with a storyline that happens to purposefully happen at WrestleMania, at the Hall of Fame, by design, right? Like if something organically happens where the fans start chanting something and, like one more match, we hear that all the time. And then maybe something comes of that, fine. Like if it organically happens, but if it's designed, manufactured to happen there and WWE allows it, that to me is actually... That takes away from the night. That's not what that night's about. And I don't want to hear, well, it'd be more real. No, it wouldn't. It would actually crap on what the meaning of that night is, and you'd never look at it the same way again, right? You'd always be wondering, ooh, wait, tonight an angle can happen. And that's not what it should ever be about. So I'm glad they didn't go that road. I mean, they still could with Dominick interjecting himself, but what's the point now? So it was still really good. Dominick is I really don't know about the outcome of this match. This is a tough match to call, and I know some people are like, oh, well, Dominick should win. But should he? We'll get into predictions later in the week as I really start to dissect my thoughts, and you'll hear a full preview and prediction show later in the week. But as far as this goes, just really good stuff. I really, really love this. Got to say, even though I think it waited way too long, it still worked, and that's ultimately what matters. All right, so the rest of SmackDown, it took place in Vegas at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, and we got Cody Rhodes versus Ludwig Kaiser, and the crowd. Look, Cody Rhodes has got a hell of a fan base already in WWE. It has not stopped. The fans continue to loudly support Cody. I think that's going to work in the favor of those that are the decision makers in WWE if they really should pull the trigger on Cody winning. Those that are in the camp of Cody should win, this is his moment, all that. You've got a lot of evidence to believe that he could and should, right? The fans are there, man. They're there for him week after week. That's the most important thing. So, we'll have to see, but the fans continue to show up for him. Now, he's the first guy out, right? That doesn't hurt. You're the first guy out. You have the most fresh crowd. Of course, you're going to get the biggest reaction compared to if he was at the end of the show. But still, I mean, they have put Cody in some, kind of differing positions, and they continue to cheer for him. So, hey, this was a good match, though. Ludwig Kaiser and Cody Rhodes, I enjoyed. We haven't heard much from Ludwig Kaiser, which, is kind of disappointing because I think he's got more to add to or more value than what he's been assigned to as kind of a crony for Gunther. But this match was good, and Ludwig continues to show that he is a solid in-ring wrestler. And Cody Rhodes, look, the dude he's more muscular and cut than I thought he was. I mean, Cody Rhodes, you kind of look at as this kind of, in your mind, if you were to just kind of formulate him, most people look at him as this kind of skinny, lean, but somewhat toned guy. No, the dude's packed on muscle, and he's lost a lot of body fat, so props to him. I got to say, Cody Rhodes is in amazing shape. But this match was good. It ends in a long match, 16 minutes, with Cody beating Ludwig Kaiser with hitting crossroads. And Kaiser gets the loss here, as expected, of course. The one thing is, and here it comes. And this is just a general critique about Cody's finish. Nothing to do about I like his character, I don't. The Crossroads is kind of a sloppy finish. Is it not? I don't know. If it's not executed really well, it looks like Cody's taking the bump, and it doesn't look like his opponent is. You always have to go, well, who's taking the bump here? Was that a reversal? Like if you're not familiar with Cody's finish, it's not the most. I mean, it's not the big ending like Big E, although I think he'll have something to say at WrestleMania. Hint, hint. Not in that particular match, but my predictions later in the week, I think Big E maybe has a say along with Randy Orton. Anyway, so that's just my one critique. It's just his finish. I'm not a fan of the Crossroads. It's just the way it looks, and you have to do it perfectly, and it's a lot of twisty, turny stuff. I don't know. Anyway, just something to stick my nose in there. But all right. After the match, Heyman and Sikoa came on the apron, and Heyman mentioned for Sikoa to stay put and told Cody he owed an apology. And Heyman delivered his own announcement for Cody winning the match. And then he said that Rhodes is going to face Solo Sikoa on Monday night. And he said that if Rhodes survives the match, then all roads lead to Roman Reigns. Wonder if they've been listening to this podcast. I've been saying that for years. Anyway, Heyman announced that Reigns would appear on next week's SmackDown to see Rhodes one more time. And then he tossed the mic to Cody. And Cody said once again that Solo Sikoa isn't ready. And the crowd chanted, "You're not ready." And then Cody said that after Sikoa finds out he's not ready, Reigns is going to find out that he's not ready either at WrestleMania. Fine. Okay. Solid. I mean, like, I don't even know if I call it solid, just kind of didn't add, didn't take away. I guess his new saying or his new slogan or his new catchphrase, whatever, is "You're not ready." I'll take that over. So what do you guys want to talk about? I'd take anything over that. I mean, can we pronounce that dead? Can we stop cheering for that, please, WWE fans? All right. Anyway, so a lot of promo here for WrestleMania 39, some Austin Theory, John Cena promotion, but actually something significant came of that as we learned that John Cena and Austin Theory are going to open WrestleMania. So they're going to be match 1 on night 1. I like that. Now, you don't have to wonder, you don't have to guess. And John Cena is going to actually, I don't know if Austin Theory, when you think about it, maybe John Cena's music will hit first. Traditionally, that should be the case as the champion is introduced second, traditionally. And having John Cena's music hit to open WrestleMania is a hotter open than Austin Theory's, let's be honest. So, John Cena's music will open the show. And that's a great way to open the show, no doubt. So, all right. Charlotte, though, came out, and this was interesting to me. This was really interesting to me because this... Let me break down the promo here. She said that 3 things have been used against her since she started in this business: fear, insecurities, and nepotism. And then she said fear is a lack of understanding and is ignorance. And then Flair said the industry wasn't built on fear, it was built on respect. And then said that she doesn't fear Ripley, she respects her. And Flair said the only thing she fears is her own potential, and ran through a list of people she's worked with, even mentioning Sasha Banks by name, the Bella Twins, Becky Lynch, and others, and then called out the crowd for giving her the what treatment and said it's time for them to listen. That was interesting. Flair then brought up nepotism and claims that they are used against her, and said that she loves her father and will never apologize for continuing the greatest legacy in sports entertainment. Diamonds are forever, and so is Charlotte Flair. That was interesting. I thought this was a good promo by Charlotte, to the point. Didn't drone on, but also interesting that she kind of attacked the fans a bit for the what stuff. And I guess I'm trying to look at this. Well, really, let's talk about this because there's 2 schools of thought. Number one, this was just her clapping back at the fans for the stupid what stuff. And it is stupid at this point. Or 2, this was kind of a bit of a sign of a heel turn because she's definitely better as a heel. Let's be serious. But I don't know. Maybe you guys can formulate your own opinions on that. But the what stuff needs to stop. I don't understand it. It's a way for the crowd to just interject themselves in a selfish way. And I understand you're at a wrestling show, and by all means, do what you want. I'm not telling anybody to stop. You do whatever you want. Just know you're coming across as fools. And you're to the at-home audience. Even the at-home audience is like, can we shut up? Can you guys just shut up, please? It's not, unless Austin comes out, if Stone Cold comes out and he is cutting a promo and he's cutting a promo with the cadence that encourages the what stuff, where he pauses every few sentences, and the what is supposed to be interjected there. Like, okay, fine. But the problem is this thing has not stopped, and it has ruined a lot of promos. And it becomes distracting, and it takes away from the context and content and the attention span of promos. And it's not needed. I don't know. It's not going away either. I don't know. It was cool for like a hot minute, and it's just for a many years now. It's over. I mean, it started, guys, listen to this, 21 years ago. This thing has not stopped, and it's not going to stop. So I bet you some fans don't even know where the hell it comes from. How much you want to bet? If you were to poll every fan, and you had to give them truth serum, and they had to explain to you why the what chants are the way they are and what they mean or where they originated, I can guarantee you that there's a chunk. When I say chunk, I'd say like a third of them have no clue where it even came from. They just participate because, it's cool. The what stuff, like, I don't even know where this came from, but let's it's annoying. So please stop, guys. Please. It doesn't add any, it takes away. All right. Okay. So anyway, we got Rey Mysterio and LA Knight. I know we already talked about what happened after the match with LA Knight and Rey, but here's something encouraging. Number one, Rey Mysterio looks really good, and LA Knight looks really good. And here's why LA Knight, even though he's losing at a record pace, although didn't lose this match, and maybe the first match that he's won as LA Knight, to my knowledge, LA Knight is being used, even in a losing capacity, as a competitive loss. Not a squash, but he's worked with Cody Rhodes a few Monday Night Raws ago. He worked with Rey Mysterio on Friday night. Like, LA Knight, even though obviously he's being used as kind of the in-house enhancement talent until WrestleMania is up, and then he's going to, I think, catch fire for a little while and see where that takes him. But I think even in a losing effort, LA Knight continues to shine, and the crowd continues to react to him, even though he's not getting any mic time, which I think really hurts, because that's where LA Knight really shines, is on the mic. But think about that. If you're an LA Knight fan, though, you can be encouraged by he's on TV in prominent positions with top guys. I mean, he faced the guy who's going to be in the main event of WrestleMania and was competitive a few Monday Night Raws ago. Okay? They wouldn't put a guy in there to work with one of their top talent that's going to be in the main event if they didn't trust him and they didn't think he has potential to also take that rub and use it after Mania to launch his own singles career, because people are going to forget about this quickly. LA Knight can talk himself right back into it. So I'm encouraged by this, not discouraged. So, all right. Let's see. Then we get... this was interesting. I have a little note on this. Natalya and Shotzi versus Lacey Evans and Xia Li in a qualifier for the 4-way tag team showcase match at WrestleMania. Now, what exactly is a showcase match? Well, actually, let me ask this. What's the difference between a showcase match and a regular fatal 4-way tag team match? The answer is one word: showcase. If you don't add the word showcase in there, it's just a regular fatal 4-way tag team match. I guess they just can't have anything regular, and they got to amplify things with language that doesn't do anything for the match other than add extra words to it. So that's what this is. It's a bit of a twist on something that isn't really twistable, and they're trying to make it look like it's a bigger match than it is, because what's on the line? Unless I'm totally wrong, the answer is nothing. The answer is pride. And you know what? I'm not mad about that. I think that's fine that you don't have a championship on the line. It's okay. WrestleMania is built for that and has seen many of those matches. But stop with the, I don't know. I guess as a fan that's like sees through this stuff, that kind of stuff, I don't know. When I can see through something that they're trying to do, it turns me off and I push back instantly. That's my instinct or my flaw I don't know if it's a feature or a flaw. I'm going to say it's a feature narcissistically. But my point is, the answer is nothing's on the line at all. And here, you know what? That's not even the worst of it. I actually took time to write this down. And this came from Wade Barrett. And I quote, when he spoke about Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans is the most sadistic woman in the division. What? What do you... I'd love to sit there. If I was sitting next to him and there was a live mic, I would have been like, what? Based on what evidence exactly? She can't stick around for more than 2 weeks or keep the same gimmick for more than, a few months. What are you talking about? What the most sadistic? Does he know what sadistic means? Maybe he meant to say inconsistent. That's probably what he meant. Did anybody else catch this? What's he talking about? I almost thought he said it as a joke. But I mean, I know what his job, and he's well aware, obviously, is to enhance the talent, right? It is to bolster the talent, to make them look, make them bigger than they may actually appear, right? And that's fine. I'm not crapping on that. That is their job. And, more often than not, they succeed. This was a blunder. Sorry. How is Lacey Evans the most sadistic? In what world and what evidence do you have for this? I could debate a case that Shotzi's more sadistic than she is. Or Liv Morgan is more sadistic than she is. Lacey Evans? What? Anyway. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who laughed at that and was just completely... I mean, Lacey Evans has gone through so many transitions and evolutions. I know who could be invested in her at this point. I mean, what? It's not that I'm down on her, but how can anyone be invested in her when the character changes every time she gets reintroduced? She doesn't get any mic time, or if she does, they create a character that never ends up being, realized, right? With the whole, oh my God, what did they do with her in the boot camp? What is that supposed to mean? But she had full makeup in boot camp. Then they had tried to make us feel bad about her and her dad's relationship. How no one was there for all that. Like, then she was, before that, she was just the Marine. And then before that, she was the nasties. Everyone's nasty, right? Like, what? I don't know. I don't know how anyone could feel anything for. I think people have more of a connection with Tamina at this point. I mean, I'm just keeping it 100, as the kids would say. And I don't think Lacey Evans is a bad talent. She's got a great look. I think she's good in the ring. When she gets on the mic, I actually think she's good, but I just don't know why they can't land on something and stick with it. They just keep flip-flopping all over the place and just kind of make her whatever they need her to be. And look, she's got no path to WrestleMania, so that's, I guess, what they're going to do is just do whatever. All right. But this matchup here was okay. It was short. Natatsa. Oh my God, I've never said that in my life. That's a word I bet you never heard you hear. Shotzi and Natalya did win and beat Lacey Evans and Xia Li in 3.5 minutes. And then after the match, Ronda and Shayna made their way to the ring, and Rousey spoke about selling out the arena and other venues in town because they're in Vegas, and then decided she's already done enough for Vegas. And then Baszler announced that she and Rousey were going to be added to the showcase match at WrestleMania. Wow. Okay. First of all, where have you guys been the last couple of weeks? Number two, what did you guys do to earn that spot again for this showcase match? Just by name value, I guess. And thirdly, did anyone even react to Ronda Rousey's entrance music? Has Ronda Rousey meant less in her career in WWE? I mean, look, those of you that don't like when I'm negative, well, I don't know what to tell you here. This doesn't mean be negative. These are objective facts, folks. Ronda Rousey has not meant any less to the women's division than she does right now. We do not need, as a collective, speaking for the WWE fans and really for WWE, do not need Ronda Rousey anymore. Now, look, if they want to do something big with her, I don't hate it. She's been successful before. But over this past run, from her return at the Rumble last year to now, has been generally a failure. Generally. There's been some bright spots, good moments. But she went from like babyface to kind of heel to back to babyface to definitely heel. And then she kind of went away and she had a terrible run with the SmackDown Women's Championship. Didn't want to say SmackDown Women's Championship. Didn't have good matches with Shotzi. Like, she's generally on her second run been a womp, 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 womp. That's kind of what she's been. I should have put a sound effect instead of try to mimic one, but I mean, it's just, yeah. The Ronda Rousey love affair is long gone, I think, for fans. All right, moving on. All right, we got the Intercontinental Champion Gunther versus Butch. This ended with Gunther winning in about 9 minutes. And then after the match, Sheamus came in and stared at Butch. McIntyre came back in and threw a Claymore kick at Sheamus that ended up taking out Gunther. And Cole then asked, well, was the Claymore kick meant for Sheamus? Well, why wouldn't it have been, Cole? They were battling outside the ring well before this. It didn't just come out of nowhere. They clearly have high tensions. They've been brawling. They had a massive brawl last week. Like, what are we supposed to be on the edge of our seat wondering if Drew was meant or trying to Claymore Sheamus? Of course he was. Is that a hook of some sort? And by the way, they're going to be having a triple threat with Gunther at WrestleMania. So yeah, like, who cares even if it was meant for Sheamus or it wasn't? That's not even like it's a small part of the storyline. Clearly he was aiming for him. The friendship is over for the time being. So what? But this is going to be a fun match. This is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun because all three of these guys work very well together. Now, we haven't seen Sheamus, or rather, we haven't seen Drew and Gunther one-on-one, to my knowledge. But if Gunther and Sheamus had a really good match, and they had match of the year, I think, and Drew is a similar style in Sheamus, then by just proxy, you would imagine that Drew and Gunther have good chemistry, and there's no reason to think otherwise. So I think all three of these guys, this could be again, and there's a lot of these on there, and that's what makes the WrestleMania exciting this year. Even though the rest of the storylines, some of them are kind of floppy, so to speak, flimsy is probably a better word, but this, from a wrestling perspective, could be match of the night too. You know, I don't know if this is going on night 1 or night 2. I didn't get that detail. But this could be match of the night too. It has a potential. All three excellent talents. This is probably going to go 17 minutes or so, I would imagine, at WrestleMania. 16, 17 minutes. That's my guess. All right. Backstage, we then get the Street Profits and Angelo, which are Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, talking about facing Braun Strowman and Ricochet. Of course, they're always just randomly staring there and just talking about other people's matchups, as they awfully do, and trying to make jokes. For some reason, the cameras just happen to be there when they're always just talking to themselves, I guess. I don't know. To me, this is the worst version of the Street Profits. Is this version. Whenever I hear Angelo Dawkins start out something by saying, yeah, and he's clapping, like, I want to instantly stop watching wrestling, like, as a whole. I just want to stop watching wrestling. I want to shut this podcast down. I mean, there's just nothing worse to me. And I don't know what it is, because it's just because they try to, and I like how they were called out on this, but they're too jokey and like they're trying to be entertaining. But like, I know they're trying to be entertaining, so that makes them less entertaining, if that makes sense. And in the ring, hey, you want me to say something positive? In the ring, they're excellent together. They have really good chemistry. We all know Montez Ford is the breakout star, while Angelo Dawkins is trying to play catch up and hope he doesn't get, shoved to the bottom of the card or has to worry about his livelihood. And, when this team does split. So, Angelo Dawkins is scratching and clawing to stay a part of this team, while I'm sure Montez Ford is like, hey, break me out of this. I can be a star. That's the feeling I get. I don't know if that's a fact, but my point is, the best version of the Street Profits are either when they are serious and cut a serious promo, which is rare, or when they just shut up and just wrestle and they're really good in the ring. and they have a good entrance music. They're very charismatic. So there, I balanced out some of my negativity with some good stuff to say about them. And in this segment here, we did get Strowman and Ricochet confronting them, and started talking about how, talking about their bald heads or something. I mean, it wasn't really that intriguing. But I believe they're involved. Are they involved in the Battle Royal? Well, we'll get to that. I don't think they are, but I got something to say about the Battle Royal, as we all probably saw. But let's talk about this first. Kevin Owens made his way to the ring for the KO show and said that the Cody Rhodes Solo Sikoa match, or Cole said that the Cody Rhodes Solo Sikoa match was official, as if it wasn't going to be, for Monday Night Raw. And then Kevin Owens was in the ring and welcomed people to his show before introducing Sami Zayn, who he said was his tag team partner, his friend, and his brother. And then Owens asked if he gave him the big introduction, and Owens said Zayn wanted his own pop, and he totally gets that. And Zayn asked if there were more backstage things he needed to spill, or if they could talk about WrestleMania. So, first of all, this was a little weird, because Owens then introduced his KO Mania shirt, but also kind of hesitantly, jokingly, half-heartedly introduced the front of the shirt, which was, WrestleZania. Nice little play on words, and they'll sell a whole bunch of them. So good for them. They'll make a whole bunch of money off those shirts, and they should. Good for them. But what concerned me, and this isn't a complaint, it's just a concern. This made me worry. And I don't have a whole lot of stock in this, and I still would vote against this happening in terms of what I think would happen. But in my mind, they planted the seed of this, and I don't like it. Are they setting up for Kevin to turn on Sami at WrestleMania? Because the way that Kevin was interacting with Sami, it almost felt like he was being sarcastic half the time, and almost kind of like, oh, you want your own pop? Is there anything else you need? Like, kind of almost annoyed by Sami, reluctant to say he's the front of the shirt. Just had the vibe of before, even before Kevin turned on Chris Jericho. Remember that with the Festival of Friendship and that storyline. And I don't know. I just had that seed planted in my brain, and I hope they're not going that road. Okay. And again, I'm not saying they will, but now that I saw SmackDown, I think there's a small chance. And if it happens, I would ask why. All right. I mean, there's no need for it. Nobody can sell me on it. We've seen this turn 4,000 times. Sure, they would have really good matches together. We've seen them have really good matches together. They could cut good promos together. But here's the thing. When you've been there and done that so many times, and the fans don't have any interest in seeing these two fight ever again, ever, and the fans would actually be disappointed in WWE on this. Like, I think it'd be heat on the company. They can't do it, right? Somebody needs to convince me out there, please. Anybody, Bueller? Because I'd have no interest in seeing that. But just the way that Kevin was kind of just being a little too lighthearted, and I don't know. I did not like the tone that Kevin Owens had on his show. It was very heel turny, if that makes sense to you guys. And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not predicting that's going to happen. Okay, so if you come back and you're like, see, I told you he wasn't going to turn on him, I still would vote against it, that it would happen. I'm just saying something wasn't right there. And maybe that wasn't the tone that was intended. I just took it that way. So, all right. Anyway, Jimmy and Jay attacked Owens and Zayn as they were hugging, and the Usos ended up hitting 1D on Zayn and taking out Owens, and Owens returned with a chair. But that's really all that it was. The Bloodline, or the Usos, got away, and they got just a nice little heel heat segment. A good old fashioned attack the baby faces from behind, or sucker punch them, get the best of them, and get out while the kitchen starts getting hot, and leave and don't take any punishment. So just kind of your old school formula that works every time, and I liked it. This was I thought a strong segment. It didn't really add much to the character depth of anybody, more just, heel heat to the Usos, which is fine. I think there's nothing wrong with that. All right. Let's spend a little bit of time on Monday Night Raw because we've covered it in depth for the Raw review, but just refreshing your memory before we head into Monday Night Raw, probably tonight as you're listening. I know I'm recording on a Sunday, but I'm going to guess you're listening to this on a Monday or even after. And so on Raw, the big takeaways were we had Austin Theory versus Montez Ford in a non-title match, which as always is going to be really good. And we had Austin Theory win, as he should. He's going into a massive match with John Cena. This isn't the time for upset victories at all. And it was a good match. And we got Bianca Belair and Asuka versus Chelsea Green and Carmella, which, hey, is there a program that you could care less about? And I wish I cared about Bianca and Asuka more. I just wish I did. Because name value says I should. Legacy on both of their fronts, especially Asuka's, warrants and says I should. But boy, I don't. And it's just that both are kind of in flux. Bianca is, unfortunately, right now at a low point in her career. And I don't mean that in the way of, what are you talking about? She's champion. She's champion, sure. I'm talking about connection with the fans, crowd reaction, evolution of her character, those things. So on paper, sure, she's champion. You can't say it's a low point. But when you look at it through the lens of those three things I just mentioned, she's at a low point. And she's at the bottom of the valley right now. And the only way I see it being rectified is a heel turn at WrestleMania. I mean, I still am going with that. So a bit of a spoiler alert for my prediction. Maybe that's because I want it to happen more than I think it's going to happen, but I'm going to go with what I want because what I want is more important than what WWE wants. So, so you have Bianca Belair, who's ice cold as a champion. And the fans are, she hasn't even cut a good promo yet. She's still coming out twirling her hair like a 12-year-old doing hopscotch at school. And Asuka on the flip side, sure, she cut her hair, so she looks a little different. That's fun for like a moment, but that didn't really evolve into much other than, okay, you finally attacked your WrestleMania opponent. Is that really a heel turn? Okay, because she's your tag team partner, but once the match is like, to me, like, it's not a heel turn because she's your opponent in like, a week and a half. So that's not a heel turn to me. And Asuka is strangleheld by her inability to communicate with her audience, which has always been a bit of a ceiling for her in her career. And I just don't feel anything for Asuka either. There's no momentum on either side. Both ladies, as good as they are, as good a careers as they've had, and then will have. Bianca Belair is a Hall of Famer, no question. But they just, from a character's perspective only, both are so cold. That's why fans are just going, meh. So hopefully, it's the only way to me you can save this is to have Bianca Belair cheat to win, retain, and then attack Asuka brutally. And bam, we're back to business. And seeing a refreshed, new version of Bianca is way better. Now, do I think they'll do that in reality? Probably not, because I know they look at Bianca as role models for the young girls in their crowd. I understand all of that, and there's politics involved. Like, I know people don't want me to bring it up, but it's true. Publicly faced, they're a massive public-facing company who have a ton of stakeholders and stockholders and sponsors to answer to. And I don't think that they're going to want to turn Bianca heel primarily for those reasons, but that's what I would do. If only storyline mattered and none of those other factors did, I think there's a much better chance. But when you consider all of the outside forces, I don't think they will. I don't, but hey, predictions to come this week. All right, Logan Paul. Let's talk about that happened on Raw. I liked it. I really did. I thought Logan Paul and Seth had a really strong segment. Logan Paul is taking to this like, a duck to water, and good for him on a personal level. From what I understand, everything. I mean, again, I'm not a fan of Logan Paul on a personal level. I don't need to be. Okay. He is just kind of being himself, which translates very well into being a heel, which always made me wonder how in the hell they're trying to position him as a babyface when they brought him in at WrestleMania last year or the year before. It was just made no sense. The crowd rejected it immediately. And I like the story they're telling here of Logan Paul and his right hand and how it only takes one punch and the lucky punch, whatever. I actually think he could get it a third time on Raw. That's my prediction for Raw on March 27th, tomorrow night as I speak. I think he's actually going to get it a third time. I really believe that. He will not see Logan Paul get the stomp tomorrow night. Or at the very least, Logan Paul will be there via satellite, as the cowardly heel does not want to face Seth. But I would actually go for, strike one, strike two, strike three. Seth is about to get the stomp. He's finally beating down Logan Paul. And someone, I don't know, somebody distracts him, maybe The Miz, whoever. And wham, a third knockout punch. And then they can bring that into WrestleMania and make it look like Seth is vulnerable. So I actually am rooting for that, because that would make me want to see Logan Paul get his ass handed to him and stomped through the mat. I want his skull through the canvas at WrestleMania. I want that. I'm a big delayed gratification guy. So if they can do that just, specifically for me, I would really enjoy that. So, but I mean, that's really my prediction though. I really believe they'll do that because it makes sense. You're like, one time, oh, he got lucky. Second time, oh, that SOB, there's no way he could do it again. That's never going to happen, right? And so no one's going to think it's going to happen a third time. I hope it does, and I think it will. Just a small prediction. So I think this program is coming across much stronger than I had hoped for. Really. Logan Paul and Seth is something I'm actually looking forward to, not just from in-ring, but story. They're doing a decent job building a story. So no problems here. And they could steal the show. Another possible show-stealing match, along with many others. So, no problem here. What else happened on Monday Night Raw? We got the, we got Omos and versus Mustafa Ali, which meant nothing because Omos was just there to squash and remind us how big and strong and how loud he can roar. And, I guess do his biggest lion impression. I don't know. We got, let's see what else. Dominick versus Johnny Gargano, and Dominick, as expected, won in about 10 minutes against Johnny Gargano. No problem there. We got Edge in a kind of deep, dark promo that Edge pulls out every once in a while, and talking about facing the demon of Finn Balor. Now, whether Edge brings out his Brood version to counter it, I hope not. I don't need Edge to bring the Brood thing back ever again. And it's not that it was a bad gimmick, but bro, you've evolved beyond that. And by the way, fans want to see and hear your iconic entrance music at WrestleMania. We don't need to hear the Brood music to do a callback, a throwback, to make sure things are balanced and see I can be dark too. Like, just whip his ass in the ring, right? I don't need your theatrics of the entrance to tell me that. Do it through your actions. Anyway, I'm going to rant tonight, guys. But I am excited for this match too. I think Edge and Finn Balor, this is another, even though we've seen this 4,000 times and Edge has been feuding with this group that disbanded him a year ago, there's a lot of potential here. A lot of potential in this match. They'll bring us in because you and I and everyone else is like, oh my God, can we move past this? And I really hope Edge does. And I don't think this is the last match. I actually believe this. Here's a long-term prediction. I think Edge is going to go out at WrestleMania 40 against John Cena. How about that? And calls it a retirement match. They cut great promos against each other. Edge could string his career out another year, especially on the schedule he's on, in terms of just televised matches. Now, behind the scenes, he's busted his ass, right? Like, people, that's what people don't consider. Like, people just think that the guys are sitting at home and, watching TV, and they just happen to show up in amazing shape. No, like, you can still be injured in training and rehab. There's a lot of sacrifice and work that goes on behind the scenes. It's not just the televised matches, right? But if Edge is able to keep this pace going for one more year and write his own story, write his last chapter himself, I think he'd want to go out against John Cena and call it a career. Win, lose, or draw at WrestleMania 40. How about that? I would love that. With the story they have, the storied careers that they have, the promos they could cut against each other. Wow. All right. I got a little bit of excitement for a year from now, but hey. Oh, one other thing I want to talk about is the Battle Royal. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They had a small little video package for it. But guess who is front and center on that graphic for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? None other than the almighty Bobby Lashley. Mr. Tattooed Eyebrow himself was there. And hey, I feel bad for Bobby. For all the work he's done, all the positions he's been in this past year, fighting over the U.S. title and Brock Lesnar, like he gets relegated to the Battle Royal. And hey, it's not his fault. Creative put him with Bray. Bray had some kind of issue. From what I understand, it was COVID related on his heart. I don't know. Okay, I'm still skeptical about that. With the kind of loosey-goosey here, there, and everywhere, there, not there, his mental state that Bray Wyatt has had in the past, I don't have a whole lot of trust in WWE's report that it's physically related. But sure, let's take them at face value just for entertainment's sake and say it's COVID related. It affected his heart. Fine, it's plausible, right? Whatever the case, whether Bray's mind or heart or I don't know, whatever. I still feel for Bobby here. I mean, he gets put in a match, first of all, that no one cares about because it was out of nowhere. The promos were already bad. The Muscle Man dance didn't really make anyone excited. But on the flip side, if you're looking at this from an optimist perspective, you're probably thinking, hey, this is actually a better match for Bobby than going against Bray. I mean, if you want to look at it as a glass half full, Bobby could win this, and I think he's a favorite to win, as he should be. And I think maybe he should. I don't need somebody from left field winning this. Why not add it to Bobby's resume? Give him a bit of a consolation prize for the bizarre creative that went into the WrestleMania season for him, and then the fact that this match ain't going to happen now because Bray Wyatt is not going to be cleared in time, and Bobby being put in a match again that no one cares about. But if Bobby's in it, that you could argue maybe Bobby Lashley is the biggest star in terms of star power to ever compete in this match. Maybe you can make the argument to me and I'd buy it. I think you also had, who else did I saw Masse. I'm thinking of the graphic. I don't have the graphic in front of me. Who else was in there? Karrion Kross I saw on there in the graphic, obviously many more, but so yeah, the big story to me was, wow, that's that I guess that's not happening, right? So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. Do you think Bobby Lashley got the shaft here, or do you think that this is actually a better option for Bobby instead of facing Bray Wyatt? I mean, there is an argument to be made there. I think Bray Wyatt in this Bobby Lashley in this setup is maybe a little bit better off than he would have been in the hocus pocus world of Bray Wyatt that would have been in some kind of, I don't know, dark red lighting, black light match. I mean, who knows? It's still possible Bray shows up. I actually have some massive names I think are going to show up at Mania. Massive. And I'll get to those again in my predictions, which I am working diligently on. I'm really thinking this one through. There is a lot of possibility here. And again, if you guys want to get an ad-free experience, and not just ad-free, but videos for free, I'm trying to pump those out at least once a week. I got to get better about that. But if you want to get on the show, there's tiers for that as well. You can come on as a guest if you go higher, and you can get that for free if you guess the WrestleMania matches correctly. All right. If you get all the matches correct and just the outcome, I'll refund you your entire monthly contribution, and you are going to be listening for free for that month. So, but that's only if you join the SmackDown tier and higher. That's a $5 a month and higher tier. So head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast if you want to join us there. And also there's a Discord server. So even if you're like, hey, yeah, the ad-free audio is cool, but I want to join a wrestling community, we have that on the Discord server, okay? The Discord server is only open to all patrons of all tiers. So you can join everyone on Patreon during WrestleMania, at WrestleMania, after WrestleMania, SmackDown before WrestleMania, which I think, by the way, they're sadly calling WrestleMania SmackDown. It's just ridiculous. But I think Backlash was spared of the WrestleMania name, so that's good. And so that's another benefit. So I guess I'm selling myself hard here, but I'd be stupid not to on the biggest wrestling week of the entire year when we get the most downloads and subscriptions and everything else. So sure, it's not fun for listeners who hear me all the time, but if I'm a businessman, I'd be a fool not to promote myself right now. So, all right. That said, guys, all right, we're bumping up on an hour here, but I want to thank you for listening. So much more to talk about this week. The final Raw, the go-home Raw to WrestleMania tomorrow night is going to be hot, huge. I think, it's going to be a lot of promos, probably not a ton of wrestling, a lot of video packages, that kind of thing. I don't expect a ton of movement, kind of just final touches on things before WrestleMania. I don't expect any massive returns tomorrow night. It's just kind of like hold steady. Let's get to Saturday night, and then we're off to the races. Same thing kind of for Friday. I don't expect a ton of physicality. And you know what? I wouldn't do that if I were WWE, because you're running the risk of injury and matches not happening. It's not worth it. You got to have some wrestling on the show, but I wouldn't put your main stars in big matches. I really wouldn't. I would just do promos, sit-down segments, in-ring promos, contract signings, kind of that stuff. So I don't expect a ton of wrestling tomorrow night on Raw. So those of you that are expecting it, I hope I'm wrong. Just because that's why we watch, wrestling shows is to watch wrestling. But that's just kind of my feeling from a risk mitigation standpoint. So, all right, everybody, that's enough for me. I'm done rambling. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Go ad-free, not just on Patreon, but Apple Podcast. We still have a 1 week for free. You can get everything ad-free for 1 week on Apple Podcasts. If you just want to go ad-free for free, Apple Podcasts is the way. And once the subscription expires, $2.99 a month or $29.99 for the whole year, which gives you 2 months for free. Or WWEpodcast.com also gives you ad-free access to all of our shows. So check that out as well. I think I'm done. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And I'll be back tomorrow night with Anthony DeMarco as we cover the current state of WWE. It's going to be a fun one running up to WrestleMania, so don't miss it. Thanks, everyone. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.